Hello, and welcome to the This Way Out podcast, a part of the This Way Out project. My name is Miguel Mata, and I would like to personally thank you for tuning in today to share some of your valuable time. This podcast is all about being a source of positive energy and messages. Here, I try to help those struggling with issues that can weigh heavily on the mind and make the world we live in seem like a dark and impossible place. I do this by sharing advice from personal experience, through stories from ordinary people who have overcome their own challenges, and other uplifting stories to help shed some light on the world we live in. In the end, my mission is to support you and help you feel better about yourself and your surroundings. All I'm asking for is a chance. Let's get started. Good morning. It's May 21st, 2020. Good morning. How are you? How are you? It's Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. Are you in a position to even look forward to the weekend? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of lost. I'm kind of lost too. I'm not sure what to expect anymore, honestly. But it's Thursday. For those of you who are looking forward to the weekend, it's Thursday. You're only a couple of days away. Hopefully you get a chance to decompress and whatnot. And if you're in that group of people who can't really afford to look forward to the weekends, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I apologize. I don't mean to laugh. Look, I know. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Let me be the first to say I appreciate it. If you're in a job that doesn't have the luxury of looking forward to the weekends, then I appreciate your hard work. Thank you very much. Today, I'm going to be talking about kindness and what a big deal it can be, and how important it can be, and how big of a difference it can make in our own lives and the lives of others. My family and I have been the recipient of many, many, many random acts of kindness. And for every random act, random or otherwise, we do our best to pay it forward because it just feels good. It feels good when people are kind to us, and we just want to share that good feeling with other people. That's the thing about kindness. It doesn't have to be a large act, a huge demonstration. Even the most subtle act can make a huge difference. Words, gestures, a wave, a smile. These small things can really make a big difference in someone's life. And to be honest, you really don't know which acts are gonna affect people in what way. But I guess really the bottom line is, an act of kindness is an act of kindness. It's something good. And sharing a smile with someone, sharing a handshake with a stranger, saying hello to someone, having a short conversation with someone, these are all acts of kindness. You know, they don't have to be these big demonstrations. Something I used to do whenever I worked alongside people working for me, it's just something that seemed to go a long way. Something that used to go a long way was physical contact. I'm not, I'm talking about appropriate contact for those who already have the red flags going up. I'm talking about appropriate physical contact. I'm talking about the handshakes or the pat on the back. They really do kind of make a difference. Of course, obviously it doesn't always work for everyone, because there are people out there who don't like touching, they don't like to be touched, and that's fine. But just in my experience, it seemed to go a long way when you pat somebody on the back or you shook their hand and you said stuff like, "Good job." It's a kindness, it's a courtesy, it's acknowledgement. It always feels good to be acknowledged. And acknowledging someone who's not used to being acknowledged, it's a kind thing to do. Another thing is compliments. just little compliments. Once again, the red flags probably go up, and yeah, I realize that in this day and age, you definitely have to be very careful with what you say or do. But maybe you don't necessarily have to be so careful. You just gotta have good intentions. I really don't want to. I feel like I'm rambling now because I'm justifying. I'm justifying how I behave. I'm justifying some of my behaviors, patting on the back, saying good job, that sort of stuff. But all I'm trying to do is trying to share like how these things are good things. But sharing a compliment, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. If you recognize something in someone, right? Maybe they changed their hair or something like that, and you say, "Hey, man, that's a pretty neat little haircut you got going on," or they just generally are well put together that day, right? "Hey, you look nice today. You look nice today." Usually, people appreciate being noticed. It can get a little wishy-washy there. So, I would tread a little lightly with the compliments, maybe. But typically, if you just throw a compliment out there, something that you notice, it's typically a pretty harmless gesture, and something that is very kind, and something that people appreciate. But I do realize, once again, this day and age, it can be a little difficult to tread those waters. What do you say we move on? Let's get away from that stuff. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Jeez, it shouldn't be the case, but whatever. But anyway, as far as like random acts of kindness go, I can speak to one specific one that we still do today. It was a kindness that was shared with us over 20 years ago, and it's one that we still do today. And the story goes is that when my wife and I were very young, we joined the military, and we were at my first duty station, or my first assignment, and we'd gone to the grocery store on base, and we had gotten too many groceries. We didn't have enough money to cover all the groceries that we had, that we'd rung up. And, this is before debit cards. We didn't have a checkbook or anything like that. All we had was cash. We were just kids, 19, 20 years old. And so there we were. We were short quite a large amount. But wouldn't you know it, the lady that was behind us in line, she paid for the difference. She paid the difference for our grocery bill, and it was so nice of her, because it wasn't a little bit, it was quite a bit. I remember it being quite a bit. I mean, so much so that we were like, okay, take that off, that sort of stuff. And she let that go on like a minute or two, and then she spoke up and said, "I'll just cover the whole thing." And we got all our groceries. And like I said, as young kids, we didn't know about that stuff, about shopping for groceries very well, you know what I mean? And we found ourselves in a tough position, and somebody shared a kindness with us. And ever since that day, even now, 20 plus years later, if we experience that same problem, we cover the difference. And we've covered the difference for a lot of different types of people, a lot of people in different situations. But it all started, that behavior, that thing that we do now, started way back when, because somebody did it for us. Yeah, that started with a kindness. But we're not the only folks. We're not the only folks that this happens to. And I wanted to take a moment here to share a few stories that I found on the internet about some acts of kindness come back around. Anyway, here was this story out of Orange County, and I thought it was pretty cool because there was this gentleman who got into a car accident, and his name was Michael Shannon. I got my notes here in front of me. This gentleman gets into a car accident. His name is Dr. Michael Shannon, and the accident was severe enough to where he got pinned in his vehicle, and the paramedics that responded to the accident, one of those paramedics' name was a guy named Chris Trokey. And, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. But Chris Trokey and his crew show up to this accident, and the doctor's car ends up catching on fire. So Dr. Shannon is stuck in this car. He's pinned in this vehicle. His legs are pinned in this car. His car's on fire, and Trokey saves him, removes him from the car, manages to free him from the vehicle, and saves his life. And what's interesting about this story is that Dr. Shannon and the paramedic Chris already know each other, and they don't even know it. At this point, they don't know it, but they've already met. Chris Trokey, the paramedic, when he was born 10 weeks premature. And he required the care of a specialist, a pediatric specialist. And his parents found none other than the doctor, Michael Shannon, the man that Chris had just saved from his vehicle. Isn't that crazy? So Dr. Shannon treats and cares for Chris when he's a 10-week-old preemie, and Chris gets through that period of time only to grow up to save Dr. Shannon from a burning vehicle. Isn't that a neat little story? One kindness comes back to its source. I found this other story out of New Jersey where these two firefighters were eating at a diner. They had just finished a shift, and they had just finished fighting like this warehouse fire, big huge warehouse fire. And they're at this diner, and their waitress, her name was Liz Woodward. Liz Woodward overhears these two firefighters talking about this warehouse fire, and Liz decides to recognize their service by covering the meal of the two firefighters. Well, one of those firefighters, his name was Tim Young, and after Liz had covered his meal, he went onto social media and posted on Facebook about what Liz had done, and encouraged all of his friends, if they visit this diner and Liz is their waitress, he encouraged all of his friends to quote-unquote tip big if Liz is your waitress, because of what she had done, right? She had done this kind act. Another thing that Tim did was he had learned that Liz was raising money to get her father a new wheelchair, and that she had started this GoFundMe page. So he shared the GoFundMe page with his friends. So he's talking about Liz and talking about what she had done. She had covered their meal, recognized their service, appreciated their service. He's sharing the story, asking his friends to tip big, and then, oh, by the way, she's trying to raise money for her dad's to get her dad a new wheelchair. She needs X amount of dollars, and well, Tim's friends ends up taking that information and running with it, and wouldn't you know it, what happened was she needed like 17 grand, and she ended up raising like 34 grand. Yeah. Crazy, huh? But it's awesome. She did this one nice thing, and what ended up coming back to her was being able to get her dad this wheelchair. All right, let me share one more story. This one I thought was really cool. So this Wisconsin woman named Sarah Berg, she's driving down the highway with her cousin Lisa. Her name is Lisa Meyer. Sarah and Lisa are driving down the highway in Wisconsin, and they get a flat tire. And this gentleman and his wife, they pull over and offer to help Sarah change this tire. Gentleman's name was Victor. I don't want to mispronounce his last name because it's a kind of a difficult name, but his name is Victor. And Victor and his wife pull over, and he changes this tire for them. So he changes the tire, and Victor and his wife, her name is Ann. Victor and Ann get back on the highway, and followed shortly, closely by Sarah and her cousin. And they only drive a short distance when Victor pulls back over off the road. Now, Sarah thinks that maybe, they forgot something on her vehicle or something got forgotten and whatever because they hadn't been on the road very long. So she passes their truck and then pulls over. And when she gets out of the vehicle, Ann is waving her hands over her head and starts yelling at Sarah that I think Victor's having a heart attack. And sure enough, Sarah goes to the driver's side. Victor's having a heart attack. And wouldn't you know it, Sarah is a nurse's assistant and she knows CPR, and she immediately gets to work performing CPR on Victor. And it's her quick action and her training that ultimately is believed saved Victor's life. She saved his life. She saved his life. Victor pulled over and helped change her tire, and that ultimately led to Sarah saving his life shortly after. Isn't that neat? Wow. I love stories like that. But it's just proof and evidence that you just never know where one act of kindness, you never know what's going to be the result of that. It's a good feeling. But sometimes it becomes even bigger than that. It becomes even bigger than that. People's lives change immensely from very subtle acts. And these 3 stories that I shared, my personal story about the groceries, this is all proof that one act of kindness can go a long way. It can be something as subtle as a compliment, or a gesture, or a wave, or a pat on the back, or a smile. They go a long, long way. And that kind act has a funny way of coming back to its source. So, what I'm sharing with you today, and what I'm encouraging you to do, is to be kind. Be kind today. You never know where that'll lead, and you never know whose life you might change. Well, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm so glad that you are still listening. I'm so glad that you guys are still listening. I just want to, as I always do before I close these things, I want to let you guys know that I'm very, very proud of you. I think you're doing an outstanding job. I think you're doing outstanding work. You guys are doing fantastic. Fantastic. Don't let anybody tell you different, okay? Don't let anybody tell you different. A step forward is a step forward. It's progress. It's progress. And as long as you're still trying, then that is good, that is okay, and that is enough. All right? You are enough. Keep doing great work. Keep doing you. Keep being you. And be the best you that you can be. And I'm very proud of you. You guys take care. We'll talk to you again on Monday. God bless. This has been the This Way Out podcast, a part of the This Way Out project. The This Way Out podcast can be found on Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and CastBox. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear future episodes, please subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, recommend future topics, provide feedback, or any other reason, you can comment on this episode or send me an email at thiswo.light@gmail.com. That's thiswo.light@gmail.com. If you're interested in the other aspects of the This Way Out project, be sure to visit my website at thiswo-light.com.